said you're in the right place at the right time. So, welcome everybody. We're going to learn today how to hire faster, increase engagement, reduce the number of tools you use, and improve employee satisfaction. My name is Aretha Simons. I'm the webinar producer here. I'm going to quickly show you how you can engage today, and then I'm going to move out the way. If it's your first time here, if you need closed caption, just click on the CC button at the bottom of your screen. We are recording this, so you're going to get the video and the slides probably later today or tomorrow. What's really important, if you have a question, please put it in the Q&A, but we know you're still going to type it in the chat. So we have team members here that'll answer your question. And one more thing for me, there's a question survey. It's just 2 questions. It's going to pop up when you leave. It's 2 questions. Take you 2 minutes to take a moment to fill that out. I am excited because this is like the first one of a kind that we've had at TechSoup. People talking about HR, and I think it's important. So I'm going to turn this over to Taylor and Amy from BambooHR. They're going to tell you more about themselves. You guys have a great webinar, and thanks for being here.
Thanks, Aretha. Appreciate it. All right, I'm going to pull up my screen, and we're going to get this HR party started. All right, can everyone see my screen? We good there? I got an okay. All right, well, let's get this chat flowing today. We got some exciting stuff we want to talk about. But first, I want to make sure we can do some quick introductions. My name is Taylor Klein. I'm a strategic partner manager here at BambooHR. I have partnered with TechSoup in the past at other organizations. I love TechSoup. I love nonprofits. I also have Amy here from the BambooHR team. And she is a sales enablement specialist at BambooHR, and she has been a sales rep and she's worked with lots of nonprofits, so she knows the ins and outs of the product, and we'll spend a tiny bit of time in the product to give you a sneak peek of all the fun stuff that you can do in BambooHR to make your nonprofits run smoother. So excited to be here and jump in. So let's get firing with that first question that we have for the day, and that is, we want to know what HR tasks take the most time out of your day-to-day operations. So in the chat, feel free to dump it in there. What HR tasks take the most time out of your day-to-day? Don't be shy. Payroll. All right, PTO, turnover. Payroll and onboarding. All right. Anything else? PTO, so that back and forth of maybe managing like that time off. Turnover is a big one we're going to talk about today. So let me pull this up. So the manual processes of HR work are long and time consuming, and every HR professional seems to be tasked with them. So this ends up translating into serious time suck for most HR folks. And first off, on average, HR managers say they spend at least 8 hours every week on manual tasks. But you might be a part of this second one, this middle one here. That's 25% of managers that say they devote even more time to manual tasks, 20 hours or more every week. And that's an incredible amount of time of doing manual tasks like data entry, checking multiple different platforms that you have, correcting information, filing paperwork, and the list could go on and on. Some of that maybe it might be onboarding related as well, and payroll related. And when we look at the time it takes to manage that reporting, the hours are staggering as well. HR managers say they spend an estimated 17 hours per week on just creating reports. I'd love to hear maybe an estimate from you on how long you think you're spending on maybe some manual tasks like reporting every week. Just throw a few out there. We're going to keep this chat going. Any ideas on maybe what you would estimate on manual tasks? I told you we're going to engage you a little bit today. 85% of your time on manual tasks. That's a lot. HR is one of my many hats, so maybe 2 to 3 hours on manual tasks. 25 hours seems to be accurate for me. Yeah, surprisingly, this can be a big a big chunk of time. So let's get into kind of the four HR time sucks we want to talk about today that we've noted. So number one, we hear from a lot of HR folks that talk about the large number of tools to get their HR to get their work done. So that's things like, hey, we have too many tools, like an ATS, maybe an onboarding tool, um, a training tool, a benefits platform, payroll tool, spreadsheets, and others. But before we get into it, maybe one last question here is how many tools do you use in your day-to-day work? So as you're using, your day-to-day HR hats that you're wearing, how many are you toggling between all that you're doing? How many tools are you using, or maybe systems are you using in the work that you're doing? Too many. All right, maybe 5 to 6 different softwares, five. Yeah, and five is pretty accurate for what the data that we've pulled, at least five for their work, and that oftentimes doesn't include like Google Docs or Word products like that. From Bamboo HR's own research on this, we know that HR folks spend more than 800 hours managing HR tasks across different systems. And that translates to up to 16 hours per week. That time spent checking and responding to messages or requests, like the PTO one I saw in there, syncing data across different platforms, that really adds up. So some top problems we see is like the data is siloed. So you're running from platform to platform to get what you need instead of just going to one place, one single point to pull that data. The employee information can be compromised. So that's a huge risk. Maybe it's spread out and therefore it's kind of unnecessary with having it strung along in different platforms. Maybe there's just like some simple tasks like pulling reports, and you're having to duplicate a lot of the data entry that you're doing as well. Some best practices to just consider here is consolidate the data into one single maybe spreadsheet or have some localized HRAS there. That last one, so that having one HRAS that can do it all, like Bamboo, is a great tool for that. Or even look for integrations of your existing software and start digitizing the process there. So using maybe AI or some of the integration tools out there to be able to connect the dots between the different platforms so they're not so siloed. So let's look at the cost savings. If you can centralize all of your HR work into one single platform, what we've found is you can expect to save over 800 hours a year. Okay. And that's up to 16 hours a week, which adds up to almost $27,000 USD in cost savings per year, just from centralizing all of that employee data. So next up, number two, not enough employee engagement. Another question for you. You can fire these in the chats. Do you struggle with employee engagement or volunteer engagement overall? If so, kind of what maybe are some of those struggles that you see? Employee engagement. And this one might kind of be maybe harder to notice in some cases. Does anyone struggle with employee engagement? It can even be a yes, no. All right. I at least see a yes. So, oh, no, we got a no in there. Okay, no struggles with employee engagement. Well, this can be a problem. And when what we found is when employees belong, employers see a 56 increase in the job performance that they're doing, and then a 50% reduction in the turnover risk overall. So, engagement is very, very closely tied to purpose within the organization. Employees that are engaged increase their productivity, and the business sees at least a 25% boost in the profits and their operating efficiency. Turnover is costly. So when we have unhappy employees, volunteers, we see a big change in turnover. And we can see some of these numbers, to help us understand the average cost to a company when an employee leaves is at least $18,000. And think about, how much turnover you have and the cost to replace that employee when they leave if they are unhappy. And the cost to replace someone in more of a technical role gets really high. It can be up to 100% of their salary just to find someone to take their role that they just left. So it's tough to put a number sometimes on the value of a consistent team that knows what they're doing really well, and that turnover cost can really throw a wrench in the consistency and ability to meet the goals on time. Some best practices here to really consider and to think about. We're seeing folks, even, I know we've been operating in more of a work from home environment for the last 5 years or so, but as folks come out of the woodworks and there's a lot more in-person interaction, the employee community can be a great feature just in order to have more collaboration. So we see this maybe in like Slack channels, that where you can post a picture, or there's like a happy hour, and folks can engage more. That can pick things up. People, overall, you can use an HRIS to make it easy to mainstream some of the benefits and put those front and center that employees have. And just overall being able to highlight some of those benefits and their total rewards that they are getting as well. Some thoughts there. Okay, so number three, low employee morale. One more question for you. Get ready, get your keyboards ready. Let's get it out. Do you struggle with employee morale? What do you do to maybe combat it? And we had this ties really close to some of the engagement that we talked about, the employee engagement, but love to hear your thoughts on maybe just employee morale in general. We have some no's with this. Very engaged, very engaged and high morale organizations. I'd love to hear more of how you're operating. You must be using BambooHR. All right, we are tiny. We don't have morale issues and work hard to keep it that way. Not really. Small enough staff of 20. And yeah, when we're maybe operating in smaller groups in person, that's great. Some great HR leaders, but some top problems and time wasters with for the low employee morale, just to be thinking about is, some of that high turnover again, and spending too much time kind of culling together data from outdated surveys. One of the things, that we focus on and that we've seen is we know that happier employees stay longer just in general. And as HR leaders, you probably know this, but some data points to just have top of mind here. When we feel excluded, when employees just feeling excluded in general, that performance can drop by 25%, and their risk for turnover increases by 50%. And the reality is that we can do something about those numbers. Managers can do something about that. That's something that you have impact over. And more than 50% of employees can say that their managers could have prevented them from leaving, or that churn risk overall. So some best practices here. So send out an employee satisfaction survey if you're not monitoring it, if you don't really even know. Maybe a good start would just be using a free service like Google. There's a lot of free survey tools out there. I used to work with a large survey platform. There's tons of free services out there, and with AI, there's a great way to just generate some thoughtful questions and baseline metrics, so you know where you're at today and you can measure that ongoing over time. And then, use that data to make changes within your organizations. One of the most important things with measuring employee engagement is actually acting on that data and sitting down with leadership. And when employees see that we're acting on the data, that can move employee engagement further and overall morale. So we have, some ideas around just a satisfaction survey, an employee NPS survey. Um, so market this like you would anything else, and give your employees a heads up that it's coming. Let them know it's anonymous, and encourage that participation. One of the biggest things I see is anytime you can get support from leadership, and that could be maybe just sending the survey out through leadership. You just see a lot higher engagement overall from the employees because they know that leadership cares about this data. They're going to act on it and do something with this data. But make sure anytime you're doing this that you're gathering more than just that ENPS, and you're gathering some of that free response data as well. There's some great tools now with AI that help you kind of put together all of that free response data too, and help understand, what factors maybe you can act on that might have an impact and drive your overall employee engagement. So just some few ideas on employee, well-being surveys. Send them frequently with well-being surveys. These are a little bit differently. Ask the right questions. Again, AI can be a great resource if you haven't dipped into that. With BambooHR, we have some AI just built in as you're thinking about some of this. Allow for free response surveys, and just use those insights to just continue to drive forward. So one of the things here with employee happiness, is in this scenario, you can set up inside BambooHR different employee happiness surveys, and you can pulse on those every month. So happiness, you have some personal motivators in here, maybe some company motivators, and relationship-based questions that you can include every month to help get a gauge on kind of this employee morale or happiness index. And these questions can be pulled from our question bank, or you can even incorporate some of your own. So in this case, we have four spread out, four for well, we have three here in these four each month, and then from each of these different topics. So really good way to kind of get a pulse on happiness in a unique way using this service. The last one I want to touch on is just slow hiring processes. What can we do, to better understand like those hiring processes and speed them up? So, one more question I want to dig into is, what is the biggest time suck of your hiring process? I saw in here there were some questions about, let's see if I scroll up in here, about let's see, payroll turnover. Turnover was one of those things. I'm curious about like onboarding as well. What are the areas, that kind of need improvement as you look at your hiring process overall? Weeding through the resumes, collecting data is the biggest time suck. Interviewing. Anything else that hiring process is long to enter all information in the various softwares, the background checks, all of it. All right. So hiring and onboarding, it sounds like this is an area maybe that's a little bit more of a hot point in this group, but onboarding can be very costly to a business if it's bogged down by manual work. Here are some eye-opening data points that we found. First, HR professionals spend an average of 11 hours per hire just juggling some of the basic onboarding tasks. Second, when onboarding isn't standardized and there isn't a process behind it, employees notice that. And in 2023, BambooHR did a survey with around 1,500 U.S. full-time employees, and we found that new hires, their biggest frustration was onboarding and not having clear points of contact for the questions, and not having a process behind it. So some top problems and kind of time wasters around this is the approvals can take too much time and getting the sign-offs there. The word of mouth hiring and maybe some of that job listing can create serious issues if there's not a process behind, when we're onboarding an employee. Um, what is that process? Outdated processes are another big issue here. And we don't involve, posting the new position online. So what is that? The ability to post to multiple different platforms to list these open positions online. And then maybe there's just no good way to manage in-person like inquiries. Like how are you when maybe they're coming in, how are you managing that? Where are you documenting that? Where are you leaving notes? So you can come back to that when you need to. So some things to consider, and this is really where Bamboo can add, take a lot off your plate when it comes to these processes. But standardizing that hiring process and establishing some hiring processes with job description, and number of interviews, approval, standardizing that in an area that everyone can follow. Bamboo HR, you build that process in there, and it's really smooth and easy to follow. You can implement a standard scorecard and interviews questions that you could implement across like the whole organization. And you can invest in more of a user-friendly ATS, an applicant tracking system that can manage that entire process from the job posting, the descriptions, if you need help building those descriptions out, the interview process. I saw some pains around that, maybe just having a standardized interview process, and then onboarding, having a smooth onboarding, the checklist for when day one and even pre-day one, what you need in order to bring them on as an employee. And this is where something like Bamboo HR can really shine from that whole process. So 40 hours, per month, just by adding e-signature software. A company with 100 employees or organization with 100 employees can save as much as 40 hours per month. And this can be big if you're involved in recruiting and that whole process as well. So 5.5 hours per new hire from coordinating paperwork, teams introductions, to setting up workstations and software permissions. So much goes into that onboarding process. And most of it happens before someone even starts that first day. And missing, a step can potentially just draw out that new hire's ramp up period and delay like their overall contribution when you're spinning wheels, waiting for forms to be filled out. When you add an HRAS like Bamboo HR, that average can drop to from 11 hours or so to 5.5 hours per employee. And this automation just helps free up that valuable time to create great new hire experiences, help them hit the ground running. And it's just a smooth process overall for long-term retention and retaining employees long-term. So we've talked and shown you how we look at employee satisfaction, some of the retention and onboarding in Bamboo HR, but it's only a few parts of a larger platform when you look at all of your HR data. And Bamboo HR can help you, whether you're just getting started with HR software or you're ready to upgrade a solution that has more of a complete all-in-one platform. Bamboo HR can help you just simplify with award-winning solutions for everything from new hire to retire. And we work with around 30,000 organizations, thousands of specifically nonprofit organizations all over the world in over 190 different countries. So how can we help? Let's look at just some other ways that Bamboo HR can help. Customers who switch from Bamboo HR just report savings of at least 15 hours per week, which is up to $27,000 in just operational costs alone. In 2023, Bamboo HR spent over 700,000 hours helping HR pros in 190 different countries. And then we added up, all those different users, almost 600 different user guides to help centers as well. So, and last of all, 98% of customers agree that moving to Bamboo was just a helpful investment for their organization, that it contributed to just better processes, more streamlined programs overall for the organization. So that's just a quick overview. We want to just jump into a quick demonstration of the Bamboo product. So I'm going to kick it over to Amy, but feel free as questions come up, maybe having a more interactive demo experience of what the BambooHR product can be. So Amy will be looking at the chat, and I'll be happy to interrupt. But if you have questions about what you're seeing or specific areas, maybe in an HRIS, please drop them in the chat and we'll touch on those. We saw some about payroll. We have a great payroll product as well. And we have some background checks partners that can help make that a smooth process as well. So Amy, I'm going to kick it over to you. I've done enough talking.
No, you're good, Taylor. Thank you so much. And already Monica's gotten the ball rolling as far as questions go. She asked a really good question about receiving over 200 resumes, but only 23 were qualified, which I'm sure all of you on this call can very much align with. So is there software available that helps screening with resumes? We'll touch on, there are a few features inside of Bamboo that can help eliminate this, but if we're needing something even more in depth when it comes to the use of AI and screening resumes, that kind of thing, we again have some great partners that can help out with that. But Monica, thank you so much for getting the ball rolling with those kinds of questions, and we'll touch on a few of those key things. So what I'm going to do is go ahead and share my screen with all of you. But yes, like Taylor said, the more interactive the demo, the better. We've got a lot of great things inside of Bamboo, and we won't even touch on a fourth of all the features that are available inside of Bamboo. But catering it specifically to nonprofits, how can we make sure that this is a product that might be able to solve some of these issues with time saving with HR? Great, happy to help. So what we'll do is we'll start out the journey of hiring an employee. So what does that look like, especially from a job posting perspective, screening resumes, interviewing, that kind of thing. Once we've done that, we'll go through the process of onboarding. So how do we get someone inside of Bamboo? How do we streamline that onboarding process and just make it feel really good? From there, we'll also touch on a few things like how do we go from paper to automation? What does that look like from an employee record standpoint? And then if we've got some time, we'll touch a little bit on time tracking and PTO. I know that was one thing that was mentioned that, again, takes up a lot of our time when we could be focusing in on the work we love to do, which is giving back to our nonprofit and our communities. So starting out, say hello to BambooHR, a really nice, clean interface, very simple, very easy to use. So if we are going from, more of a paper process to automation, anyone can use this truly. It's very easy, very simple to use, but it also looks really pretty, which is nice as well. So we're going to start out over here on the hiring tab, because again, we're going to look at hiring somebody. So often when you are posting positions, you're posting on places like Indeed, LinkedIn, especially in the nonprofit community. Those that work in nonprofits, they often want to stay in that same industry and they want to find ways to give back. So there are job boards out there. There are websites that are specifically focused in on finding jobs within the nonprofit community. So with all of those different websites, the question comes, how do I, remember to post all of those jobs on all those pages, but then how do I keep all of those candidates potentially in one place? So in comes BambooHR. So as you're posting those jobs, so again, whatever kind of job openings we might have, we are going to have a code that's attached that when you post those jobs, we have a direct integration with Indeed, but on websites like LinkedIn or again, those specific job boards, we're going to get this tailored embedded code that there's going to be a spot on that website to attach this. By simply just copy and pasting this code, now any and all applicants will come directly inside to BambooHR. So you no longer have to remember to go to all of those websites to see your candidates, or if you have, that jobs@hopeinc.com, where all of those, resumes are being emailed to, it's now going to be in one place and simplify that for you. So to make things easy, we'll just keep it on our general application and see we've got about 6 candidates right now. From here, at a glance, I can take a look and see who was the last person, how long has it been since we've been in contact with this person? Did we give them a rating? So if, for especially in the process of general application, we're going to keep it open. Often we just, peruse it, we keep it on hold. So what rating did we give them? When did they apply? And again, when was our last communication with them? So taking a look here, we got a 4-star candidate by the name of Kelly. Let's take a look at Kelly and see what we think. So from here, their resume is going to automatically pull inside of BambooHR. So again, we can see it very clearly, very simple. If they had a cover letter, that would attach in this section as well. But then to answer that question we had earlier of, hi, I've got someone, I have, well over 200 candidates. What do I do to make sure that I can get through these quickly? That is where, when we're posting about Bamboo or posting about that job, we have what's called knockout questions. So from here, we have, how did you hear about us? Why do you want to work here? What do you bring to the company? We can add in things like, what is the minimum requirement that we need from this job? So do they need to have a specific skill set? Do they need a minimum amount of years that they've worked in this kind of position or in this kind of field? From there, if that knockout question makes it so they're no longer qualified, it can send an automatic turn down conversation or turn down email within 24 hours. But if you say, I want to see any and all applicants anyways, we can make sure that's turned on. Thumbs up right there, where we see all of those candidates come through anyways, but it does say they're technically not qualified. So if we take a look here at Kelly, she's great. I wrote a few notes about her. So I said she looks good. Let's schedule a phone screening. My coworker Charlotte comes in. She says, I left a message with her. Let's get it scheduled ASAP. And we've scheduled one from there. So we can see the history of who's done what. We can see the conversations that we've had internally, but then we can also go to these emails and we can see what does that conversation look like. From here, I can see any responses. With a new email, we'll have those templates of saying like, hey, would love to set up a phone interview with you. Do you have a few minutes? We can say, I want to come, do an interview in person. These are the times that we have available. You can see by just having a few templates and streamlining everything in one place, we really get to that time-saving capability where you can focus in on the work that you love to do. So for the sake of time, let's say Kelly's a great candidate. We really enjoy her. We want to, make her an offer, which again, we can see where we're at in the process from here, but I'm ready to make an offer to Kelly. So from here, I'm going to click on create offer letter. And inside of BambooHR, again, we're never having to leave the system. We're going to create this offer for Kelly. So first thing I'm going to say is, let's say this offer expires in 2 weeks. We're ready for her to start the first week of July, and we're going to be hiring her on as a content marketer. We know content creation is all the rage right now and is a great way to get publicity. Kelly seems like a great person from that. And then compensation. So pay rates, we're going to give her, let's just say about 22 USD per hour. And pay frequency, we're going to say twice a month versus every other week. So again, you can see that just drops all of that very easily inside of Bamboo, what we've agreed upon. And if I also want to do a background check as a part of that, I'm going to go here to add company files. And from here, background check authorization PDF. So I'm going to add that, and it will have her sign that, saying that she is good to authorize a background check. So again, saving us time and making sure that we check off all of the things we need to do when it comes to hiring Kelly. So from here, we're going to preview this offer letter, make sure it looks good. Your letterhead that will automatically be inside of Bamboo comes straight over, looks nice and pretty, says we want to offer you the position. Says review this document again before she can officially sign to accept it. We need her to authorize she's good for a background check. She clicks here to sign. E-signature is built right inside of BambooHR. They do not need to download any third-party apps like DocuSign, anything like that. It can be done holistically right inside this email that we send to them. From here, I'm going to go ahead and send off this offer letter. And so we've got that step down. Are the forms provided within the system? Great question, Stacy. So there are some basic forms, basic templates that we have inside of Bamboo. Of course, when you would be setting up BambooHR, your implementation specialist would help you customizing those a little bit, especially in the nonprofit community. Most of these templates, they are not made, they're just made for standard, corporate America. How can we tailor these to fit our industry a little bit better? 100%, we would help you out with that. Okay, perfect. So from here, we've sent that offer letter to Kelly. Now this is where we get a little bit better visualization of not only we've sent it, but we can see if Kelly's viewed it. As we know, if she's viewed it multiple times but hasn't signed it, that's a good indicator that maybe we need to have a conversation. There's a negotiation that needs to happen, but we're going to see every step in the process that it's good to go. But let's say she signed it, everything is looking good. So from here, we're going to hire Kelly, which confetti all around. We did it. We hired somebody, but as we know, the job's not over yet. Now comes onboarding. Last thing about hiring before I move on is all of those websites that we talked about, which are great to post to. You say, great, we, got the job done. Now I need to go remove that posting from everywhere. By checking this box, it does it for you. It will remove that posting from the public. You no longer have to worry about that on your checklist. We get to move straight to onboarding. So we're going to add Kelly in as a new employee. And of course, we're going to just add that in the trial account. From here, man, do we want to send her a new hire packet? We're talking about going from manual processes to automation. That is going to save us so much time, and we'll get to that in a second. But from here, just going to make sure everything looks okay from our end. If I'm going to assign her an employee number, this would be where I would do that, but we can do it later if needed. Pay schedule, again, we talked about twice a month. She is an hourly employee, and it already saves and autofills that rate that we agreed upon in the offer letter. If I'm going to assign her a work email, I can do this now, or I can do it later. It has her information from her resume automatically pulled over. We've got that hire date. It is a full-time person, and I would like to allow them access to BambooHR because later I'm going to have them do things like requesting PTO, that kind of thing inside of Bamboo. So now we're going to save her information and create that new hire packet that, like we talked about, man, does it save us a lot of time. So from here, I'm sure you all have that file of, what information do we need from them? We need them to fill out their W-2 form. We have specific nonprofit forms that we need them to fill out. If they're on a 1099, anything like that. Again, how do we simplify, make things easy, and automate it? So I'm going to create a new hire packet. We do know this employee is going to be in the US, so I'm going to select my US one. If you have different packets depending on their role, again, we can add all of those inside the Bamboo. But for her, we just got our basic one. Says, hey, we're so excited for you to come. This is information about your first day. We need you to arrive by this time. This is who you can contact. This is who your manager will be. Please bring 2 forms of ID with you, and we'll treat you on your first day to lunch. Now, nobody likes being the new kid. And everyone's always wondering when there's a new face around the office, like, who is that person? This is where we get to create that warm welcome when they get started. Their first day, they will have already filled out this information. So if we want to know where their hometown is, what city do you live in now, what's on your bucket list, favorite vacation spot, or of course, depending on our nonprofit, we can change some of these things. Like, what is the way you like to get back to your community now? Or what previous nonprofits have you worked at before? We can choose which of those go out. And we can also choose, do we want to send it out to the entire company, especially for one of those smaller nonprofits, or do we want it just to go to their department? We get to choose that too. So they'll fill that out. And then we know that she's got some tasks that need to get done. So we know HR has a few things that need to get done. Who do we assign those jobs to? What does IT need to do? This is the new employee paperwork we need them to sign. So that all looks good to me. I'm going to go ahead and preview what this would look like for Kelly. So Kelly's going to get another email that she says, welcome aboard. We're so excited to have you. we need you to fill out this basic information. So they'll upload a profile photo. They'll fill out their information, including their social security number, their home address, their emergency contact information. Again, how much of this information can we get out of the way so when they show up on their first day, it's about the work. It's not about the paperwork. And then from here, having them fill out those get to know you questions. And lastly, we need you to do all these things before you come in. So their W-4 form, going to fill that out and have them sign it. Review company handbook policies, their I-9s, any other policies, bookmarks we might need them to do. So I'm going to send that off. Kelly now has clear communication of what's expected of her on her first day. What is the game plan? And a lot of that information will be filled out before she even gets started. So it's about introducing her to the company and introducing her to our nonprofit, and less about signing and signing and signing more paperwork. So now Kelly is officially into the system, and this is where we know the true work begins. So from here, we now have tasks internally that need to happen before Kelly's first day in July. So now we know HR, we need to get, orientation set up. We need to issue a t-shirt, anything like that. You're going to see that there are names attached specifically to these tasks. That means those individuals like Eric in IT is going to get an email notification, as well as one inside of Bamboo that says, hi, we're hiring somebody. These are the tasks that need to get done, with the due date to ensure that they're done in the proper timing. And as those tasks are done, they will come in and they'll check those off. And then it's very easy to see how close are we to getting things set up for success for Kelly before she starts on July 1st. So that, again, fire hose of information, but that is how you streamline hiring and onboarding with BambooHR. Now we're going to take a look at just employee records in general. So we know that we got a lot of great information all at once. Let's see, can BambooHR's payroll handle? I'll let Taylor answer those. Perfect. Thank you so much, Taylor. And then thanks, of course. From here, so again, just overall basic information, like how do we manage this and go from a paper filing system into something that's more automated? So at a glance, we can click on somebody like Charlotte. And from here, not only can we see their personal information, which access levels somebody mentioned earlier. Everything inside of BambooHR, it is very granular on who can see what when, which again, your implementation specialist will be asking you, who do you want to see what specific information? Example being, not everybody, in fact, very few people should be able to see somebody's social security number. We will set those parameters up so that only certain individuals can see basic information, or things like emergency contact. Do people want their phone number out there? Do they not? We get to turn on and turn off all of those very easily, and that's very easy for you to manage. But then from here, information like their job title, what is their job description, what's their compensation looked like over the last few years, when was the last time they had a raise, all of that is going to be tracked now inside of Bamboo instead of just a spreadsheet. So it's very easy to search for that information. Documents as an employee sign them. So like those I-9 forms or those W-2s, all of their signed documents will also attach to their profile. So one, they have a copy, but two, we're able to retain a copy for our records as well, which all of that information goes into this beautiful filing system. So again, it's inside of BambooHR. We are not having to worry about it on our end. It's not in our Google Suite on Google Docs. It's safe, it's secure with two-factor authentication to be able to log in. Perfect. So from here, it's also helpful to see, what does an organization look like? What is the structure? Who reports to who? In a smaller organization, that might not matter as much, but as we grow and we get bigger, it is helpful to see who's in charge of what, who works under who. So you also do have access to a very simple, easy to read org chart of who is reporting to who very quickly and very easily. Awesome. We got about 2 more things that we'll go over, and then I want to make sure I leave the floor open for any kind of Q&A. But now taking a look, this is again our homepage inside of Bamboo, but we're also going to have just access to see things very quickly. So like within my team, who's in and who's out currently. Those that wear the HR hat, Where are we at from a turnover rate? Just being able to gather this data and see, are we improving on our turnover or are we struggling? Your head count, where are we at from a hiring standpoint? Are we maintaining that level? As well as company resources. Employees can go straight to here and take a look and see, where's my link to my benefits? How do I submit, an IT ticket? That might be a little bit more complex than what you do, but just any and all resources, they can go to one page for it versus having to remember and bookmarking where everything goes. Wonderful. Okay. Last thing we're going to talk about is PTO and time tracking. So as we can see, there is the capability inside of BambooHR to have your employees clocking in and out. Now, it can be as simple as them just doing your standard clock in, clock out. They can also go in and add any kind of notes if they're working on specific projects for a nonprofit, wanting to just keep notes on what it is that you're doing. That capability, project tracking, is very easily accessible inside of Bamboo. And there's a report that we can run really easily to see that. From here, let's say I've got timesheets available. So again, instead of those manual ones that are written down, some individuals, yes, we know it is 2025. We still have companies that have that amazing standard punch system. It's very easy for us to remove that, but just know you're not the only one. From here as a manager, I will get a notification that says, hey, these hours are ready for approval. So I can go in and I can take a look at somebody's time card, make sure everything looks good. Because this is a new trial account, we don't have a lot of data yet, but it would show hours there. And it's just as easy as approving all hours. And then that goes to our finance team so we can make sure individuals get paid correctly. Just by standard clicking a few buttons, it's easy, it's done, it's taken care of. From a PTO standpoint, we probably get those texts or those emails, or they submit a Google form requesting time off. Not with BambooHR. It's very simple for them to be able to go in to their own profile. So they're going to be able to see their information, whether it's on BambooHR's website or where I find myself requesting time off is on my app when I'm sitting with my family at the dinner table. I can go in and see, well, how many hours do I have available to make sure that all is good to go. But then I can go in and submit a request for some time off. Once I submit that request, my manager, again, will get a notification or an email. So if I'm Jennifer, I take a look here and I say, hey, I want to go to Florida and go to Harry Potter World. Great. But then you take a look and see, well, that week, man, there's a lot of people that already have time off. So it links and shows you who's already requested time off, how many days are they gone. So if I take a look here, I can add a comment and I can say, is this flexible? We have a lot of team members out, and post that so she'll get a notification. I'm not necessarily saying yes or no yet. I can leave it there. I can again click on this calendar view so I can see a little bit better who's going to be in, who's going to be out during that time, just to make sure that we're staffed correctly, especially going into something like the summer. We know that can happen pretty often. Perfect. From here, that then ties to something you might have already noticed or seen, which is the who's in and who's out calendar. So we can take a look here and we can see who's in and who's out. That right there does not necessarily need to be just in BambooHR. This will also link to your Google Calendar, Microsoft Calendar, wherever your team holds that information. It will also post there, so you don't have to log in to see who's currently in and out that day. We do keep track of things like anniversaries of working at a company, birthdays, just to make sure, again, from a company culture and morale standpoint, that people feel valued and they feel important and they feel a part of it. Now, if you're someone that doesn't love to celebrate your birthday, when you do your new hire packet, you can say, don't tell everyone about it, but your manager will still know. So from there, again, man, that's just scratching the surface when it comes to things like saving you time, automating, making things really simple. The biggest key thing here is, what information did you take out of this that could save you time, which in turn saves you money, which, as we know, money is what helps nonprofits grow and help give back to their communities. So if you would like to learn more, definitely ping us and we can get a more tailored demo to you and your company. But there is BambooHR at a glance. So Taylor, should we open it up for a little bit of Q&A?
Yeah, I've been trying to respond to one right now in the queue. Can BambooHR integrate with accountancy platforms for export projects,
yes.
tracking data?
Yes, great question. So what that looks like is you don't have to necessarily be using BambooHR Payroll. If you are using other systems like ADP, QuickBooks, that kind of thing, yes, they do connect really well together for us to still be keeping track of those things. We have what's called an open API, which means gives us really the capability to be able to connect with any and all systems that also have an open API and say yes to us connecting, but then things like project tracking, you can do that export in and out. So hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, we have our marketplace integrations that there's like really smooth integrations with a lot of different platforms. And then on top of that, we do have that open API that just makes it really smooth and simple. Yeah, I think, are there any other questions? Yes, we will have a recording. Let's see. And then what I will add is we are doing I'll share my screen. So BambooHR has been with TechSoup since earlier this year. You'll get 50% off any implementation and also a 20% off the monthly service. With BambooHR, we are truly just a month-to-month platform. There's no contracts. So we really put our money where our mouth is when it comes to having a product that actually is valuable within organizations. So one thing to just think about, like with this promotion, is with TechSoup, we do have a current promotion for the offer right now. Let's see. I see a few more questions coming in. We can come back to this. Can the timesheet platform keep track of various classes and jobs? We have about 40. This is needed for finance.
Yes, we can keep track of. So that would be similar to the project tracking, but what we're doing is just keeping track of, which classes or jobs are they doing. There's also the capability of what's called shift differential. So depending on maybe if the class is in the evening, they get paid a different rate versus the classes in the morning, or keeping track of part-time versus full-time or bonuses, that kind of thing. Quick answer is yes. It's very simple and easy for us to do.
Yeah, see a few more. Let's see, we answered that one. All right, I think we covered all the questions. Yeah, just to call out on the promo, there is a $0 admin fee right now through July 31st. We dropped that link in the chat. Check it out. Schedule a demo with us. If you're a Boost or Quad member, you can get that zero admin fee. So really excited. If you schedule a call with us, it's a pretty smooth process. You'll chat with one of our reps, someone like Amy. Sit down. They're familiar with working with nonprofits, so they know how to get you all set up and running. So thanks for the time, everyone. We really appreciate it, and we will hopefully get to work with you all here soon. Okay, have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.